Hello and welcome to Weaving the Magic. My name is Kelly and today's reading is brought to you by Divine Rage. It's kind of what we're all feeling right now. We've got this anger. If you're tuned into my channel, if you care about the things that I say, if you resonate with the things that I'm feeling and sharing and expressing, I know you're angry. And I wonder if you know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with mine yet. And that's what this tarot spread is intended to figure out. I'm angry at so many things. And what I know doesn't work is spiraling out of control and just being mad, or stuffing it, thinking that I can't do anything about it anyways and giving in to powerlessness. So what this tarot spread is today, I've curated a bunch of questions, things I want to ask, gain some insight in to help bridge the gap between this divine, holy rage and anger that tells me, because all anger is information. Anger is information that something is being injusticed here. There's some disservice being done. There's something to get angry about. There's something that's not safe, not right, that ought to be corrected. And maybe it's just my perspective. Maybe it's something that I can actually do in the world within myself or even outside of myself as an extension of myself. But I don't yet know. And so I'm here to find out. If that's what you're up for, stick around for the message. Let's dive in. And the first thing is here, I want to ask about, before the anger even comes out, I want to dive into, what is the anger serving? Because the anger is just a protector. It's an alarm system. It's a first line of defense for something. The foundation, the core self, the pure self, the human self. Anger is the defender of the human self. So when the anger is triggered, it's saying that we need to defend something. I want to know, what is it about humanity in general that's even worth defending at this point? Because the world is so filled with bad humans that are doing bad things, and the world is run by it and blah, 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 all of that negative horror story. I want to show right here now that there's something still worth fighting for in humanity. And of course it's going to be the curious creatures that wants to say something, because in all vulnerable honesty, I'm curious to know. I've toggled between anger and depression so much in these last few days, in these last few months in my life, because that's just where I've been at with being a mother in a society that does not support mothers as a very simple statement, and actually burdens mothers so much so that they cannot do their duty of birthing a new world. So what is worthy of being protected? This is amazing. Four of Swords and the Eight of Swords, okay? And I put them in reverse, and I'm going to account for that, but I first want to just go here. Four of Swords. 4 is a number of safety. Did you notice how I put these 4 decks around like this? 4 is safety, it's stability. This is like you're safe enough to rest. Feminine principle. And masculine too. It's a sword. Sword is a masculine energy. You're safe to rest because no one's being abolished. No one's being condemned, judged, wiped off the face of the earth, conquered, dominated, on and on and on. Every time we fight each other or fight back or fight, no one can get any rest. No one can sleep at night with the things we're doing to ourselves and each other out of this misplaced anger that's bubbling out all over the edges. But what's worthy of defending is the fact that we are human beings that are fallible, not weak, not incapable. We're very capable, but we also need rest. We can't go and go and go forever. We're not robots. We have softness. We have sensitivity. There are, in the 4 directions, 2 masculine directions, 2 feminine directions. In the elements, the same. There needs to be harmony between doing, conquering, achieving, going, and being able to just rest and be. What's worthy of protecting and defending is how good it is to be a human in this state. My son, for example, I've seen him resting on me, knowing how safe and loved and nurtured and how wonderful this world is. I've seen him have that experience. I've had that experience for myself. That's worthy of defending. That inhumanity is worth fighting for, in case you don't remember. In the Eight of Swords, I was just having this conversation with my husband about how anger is not futile and it's also not immature. And if you don't have a handle on anger, then you don't know how to protect yourself. You don't know how to defend yourself when you need to get angry. And in this circumstance, in this Eight of Swords, wild horses, look at this white horse. She doesn't want to be trapped. Wild horses want to be free. They don't want to be bound. They don't want to be blindfolded. They want to see the open horizon in front of them, and they want to have all of the liberty to do as they please. Being trapped is death for the mental energy. It's death for the mental body. This Eight of Swords I've pulled so many times. I mean, I've pulled the Eight of Swords so much recently, I can't even tell you. And I know for me it's because I've been looping around this inability to express my anger not in a positive way, in the way that it's meant to be. You know? Not an appropriate way, not the healthy way, I'm meant to express my anger in the divine way that it's meant to cut the bullshit, to call accountability to myself, to be aware of where I'm limiting myself, where I'm putting my own limitations on what I'm capable of doing, seeing, being, saying, activating, cutting off, getting out of, the limitation. But in reverse, when we're talking about what's worth it, because there are beings, creatures, humans, whole energetics, groups of people that are not capable or able to speak up for themselves, to get angry against injustice. Some people don't have that ability. Sometimes this mental trap isn't just a mental trap, it's a physical trap. And in the society we live in, it is a physical trap. And there are many people who do not have the voice, the platform, the ability to be heard, to get their needs met. And so they're trapped by this vicious thing. That's worth fighting for. That's worth leveling up for. That's worth not fighting for. That's worth taking a pause and recognizing, like, okay, I'm angry. There's something here to be angry about. But my anger doesn't need to mean go flying off the handle and get reactive. That's only going to get me trapped. It's literally going to land you in bars or dead here in the States. It's literally going to do that. And I'm not trying to condemn those people who don't know what to do with their anger, and so they resort to this. Please believe I'm not judging you. I have no idea what I would do if I was literally seeing my neighbors getting kidnapped off the streets and all of the crazy things that are happening. But you know what? I don't mean to make light of it. This shit's been happening for a long time and in many, many places. And it's really hard to not turn a blind eye when it doesn't directly affect you. And I'm not putting that off the hook either. But here's the whole point of this message is, like, we're all trapped and bound. We all have our own, levels from which we're capable of playing. And, some of us that do have the air quote resources and privilege are fucking exhausted. I don't have the bandwidth or the capacity to go out and fight or do any of that. I have 2 children, one of which has an intellectual disability on top of my own mental conditions that are caused by the circumstances and the environments and the yada, yada, yada. And I'm not giving an excuse, but what I'm saying is, what's worth fighting for is the fact that we're not exactly as free as we could be as human beings. We are not free. We're trapped in this mental energy where we can't let ourselves rest, but we're exhausted because we're staying in the same trap. What's worth fighting for is that it would serve us to see what we could live out to our human potential. We're so excited about exploring space and going and seeing how much we can innovate and do and create in all of these robotics fields and artificial intelligence and everything else. And I'm not condemning any of those areas, but all I'm saying is we're applying our intelligence's multiple swords, energy, to all of these areas that leave humanity out. They leave freedom, sovereignty, wildness, slow, intentional, paced living behind. They actually trap it. They actually repress it. They actually condemn it. And those things are worth fighting for. And this is like the pillar of integrity. The pillar of like, no, I know whether people are being honored or not. Whether humanity is being honored or not. And it's not being honored. That's why I'm angry. So let's move into the sacred rage. What are we meant to be seeing? What are we meant to be transmuting? What are we meant to be channeling? What are we meant to be doing here? And we've got the Unveiled Tarot coming out with something to say here. Quick to the draw with the Unveiled. And you're not gonna, like, I'm not gonna laugh. I'm just gonna say I can't even not believe it. Eight of Swords again. Sincerely. All right, so Four of Cups. Eight of Swords, Page of Cups. So let me digest. So this is, now we've got 2 4s and 2 8s and a page. This is amazing. Okay, so now we've got Swords and Cups on the board. We've got mental and emotional energy. And again, we're talking about what are we meant to be seeing, transmuting, and channeling. This is the apathy. This is the like, yeah, but I can barely keep my head above water. Like I was just speaking, like I was just laying out all of my limitations and my inabilities because I can barely breathe. I can barely keep my head above water. Well, like, okay, let's knock these things down one at a time. I'm so mad because it doesn't feel like I have the time to do what I need to do to take care of myself. Bullshit excuse, Kelly. Make the time. Find the time. If it's important to you, you'll do it. If it makes sense to your survival, you'll do it. If you love yourself deeply, you will find your capacity to do it. And I'm sorry if this is tough love for some of you, and if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to take this message. I'm speaking to myself, through myself. I'm tapping into the things that are coming through me. And I often feel like I can barely keep my head above water, but you know what? I'm not unlike everyone else in this society. And me thinking that I'm the only one keeps me in this rage that also makes me feel weak and powerlessness. Because if I can't even keep my head afloat, how am I supposed to incite any change? How am I supposed to do anything? But this is in reverse. This is talking about, no, you can do something, and everyone else is in the same or similar boat. And those that aren't, forget them. Those that are, reach out, collaborate. Here we are with the Eight of Swords again, and it's like this Eight of Swords is talking about dissecting the points of view that you have and hold on the world, on like why you can't express your anger, why you don't agree with anger, how you might be afraid of it, and or why you think that's purposeless, or any of the things revolving around the rage. It's about dissecting how and why did I get to this point? And quite frankly, I'll be blunt, it's because we live in a system and society that has bullied us into compliance, that has bullied us into following rules and not questioning and not asking questions. We just obey, blindly obey. And they try to make that subtle, but it's not subtle to those of us who are awake. And if it's been subtle to you for a very long time and it now no longer is, and this is so jarring, and that's why part of why you're enraged, this is why the Cups is here. Because I'm meant to soften my tone and say, like, this sucks for all of us. It's so not fucking fair at all that we feel so alone in this. And also, like, I love the sea. I love this community. Look at how each of these figures feels so alone. And then there's many fish in the sea. You're in a sea of people. We're all in this together, but we're not, because we're so used to fighting against each other and trying to prove our point to people and trying to make sure that our voice gets heard or we get the validation we need or whatever. And we get so hung up on this stupid fighting that we forget what the point is. The point is we want to create a new environment where vulnerable young people, new lives can be fostered and cared for and nurtured and raised up to feel confident swimming in this gigantic ass ocean that we have, instead of making them feel like, if you just comply, we'll give you safety. If you just say yes, you won't get hurt. Everything will keep going okay as long as you just agree to keep giving your freedoms away and take a smaller and a smaller and a smaller and a smaller glass cage. The rage is real, folks. The rage is real. And we need to stop feeling like we're alone in it, and that it's overwhelming, or that we need to keep our head above water and not allow ourselves to feel it. We need to allow ourselves to feel it. We need to allow ourselves to cut ourselves open with that anger. Why am I so angry? What am I defending? What am I protecting? What about these two parts of myself? That feeling of being trapped and that feeling of like, I can't just get a break. I can't rest. Allow that rage to serve you in some further exploration of those emotions, of that anger. Let's move forward. I feel like much of this comes down to, and it's repeated here in the Eight of Swords showing up twice, there's a false limitation here. Like there's a point in which we think that our power ends and that there's some ultimate power or authority or more dominating power outside of us. And in many physical ways, that is physically definitely true. And also at the same time, most of us aren't physically confronted with that actual thing every day. So it's easy to put it out of our mind if we choose to put it out of our mind, right? We could choose to not focus on that. And I'm not saying turn a blind eye and pay no attention to what's going on, but I am saying be mindful of the amount of time that we're spending focused on all of the things that we have to be angry about. Because what are you doing to yourself if you're spending all that time being angry? You're flooding your body with the toxins of anger, with all of the cortisol of anger, with the adrenaline, and your body then has to try to regulate that stuff. And if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not sleeping, if you're not doing things, if you don't have community, this is like illness waiting to happen. You know, they don't even need to take you out. You're going to do it to yourself just because you're so angry at them. Don't let them do that to you. Don't let them take you out just with your own anger misplaced. Let's keep going. So, what is the false limitation that we don't really have? Let's dive deeper into this Eight of Swords that has been like plaguing me in my everyday life right now. Please. I'm going to use the landscape, and if it gives me the Eight of Swords, I'm going to just scream. I'll edit it out of the video so you don't have to hear it if that's what happens, but I will seriously just flip out. Folks, I'm in rare form today. Like, it's been a day and a doozy and a lot of progress, and honestly, because I expressed anger today, I've made progress in my life. It made things uncomfortable. It was a shakeup from the norm. It did a lot of things that in the short term weren't pleasant, and also pleasant doesn't mean anything. You don't remember pleasant moments at the end of your life. You remember the whole of your life and whether you stayed true to your integrity or not. And anger reminds us when we're steering away from our integrity of doing the right thing. And so if we repress our anger instead of expressing our anger, we keep going down a crappy path. We keep giving our power away. If we express our anger in good ways, in constructive ways, and remember the love that we're defending when we do it, it can have great outcomes. Wow, and that is cool. So these honestly fell on the floor. I don't feel right with them that way, and maybe I'll account for that, but honestly it feels more like this. And the other way. Tip of the iceberg is what I'm feeling with this. Ace of Swords clarity, okay? Tip of the iceberg. We're only going to get pieces of information as they come. So in terms of what's going on I even hate saying the words, I don't even want to. In terms of what's going on in the way that the governments and societies are moving forward, we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. But that, please don't let it throw you into fear of the unknown. That's why it came out in reverse, because this is the unknown. The moon is the things that you can't see. It's the darkness. It's the stuff that when this moon is dark, no predators or prey on the savannah are seeing anything that's going on, and every move is being made blind. But when you control the moon, when you control what's illuminated, when you control what's seen, it gives whoever you are, predator or prey, the advantage. So be aware of what you're seeing, what you're looking at. When these news stories come out and all these big sensational things, stop looking at that. That's the tip of the iceberg. It's just making you spiral in anger. And the more you try to prove facts and have conversations and debates with people who are adamantly opposed to understanding you, the more you're submerging yourself underwater in this depressive, I don't have anywhere to put my anger. No one understands. No one's going to listen. This is an insurmountable mountain that we'll never get over. Might as well give up. Might as well get depressed. Might as well go dark. Might as well not say anything. No. The Ace of Swords is something to say, but it's not about being reactive. The moon is emotions. This is like, if you touch my tender emotions, I'm going to lash out and hurt you type of feeling is what I'm getting from this. And it's not about drowning that out. It's about honoring. Again, anger needs to be honored. It has a message. It has a purpose. It has a reason. So as far as the false mirror, again, don't buy into what you're being shown. Don't even pay attention to it. Honor the fact that you're curious. Honor the fact that it's happening. Honor the fact that these are real human beings on the news that are really going through terrible things, or in your life or on your street or in your community or whatever. And I'm so sorry if this has touched you personally, the stuff that's happening. It has not yet me. And I am so sick of grief and rage of not doing anything. This is how I have to contribute. Don't let yourself be blinded by the minimal amount of facts you think you have. Always zoom out to the bigger picture. And also, we're evolving just like the moon revolves. And it comes back around and around and around. And what the mirror, the false mirror, is trying to show us with this is that we all, human beings, have a tendency to think that we are the good and the righteous and on the right team and on the winning team, and that's just inherent truth. And you want to believe that's right. I want to believe that's right. But I know in my life I've had to look at the times. For example, I wrote a poem a couple years ago that was saying, like, I'm sorry that I hurt you, but also I was so wounded, and it didn't excuse my behavior. And so I'm so sorry that I hurt you. I truly am. You didn't deserve that. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where else to put it. And so I hurt you. I was the bad guy. I've owned up to those things in my life, and I continue to do so when I make those mistakes, when I make those wrong choices. That's what this false mirror is reflecting to us, because right now at this moment, our anger could deceive us. Our anger could send us down the path of waging holy war and fighting the good fight and becoming self-righteous and starting to justify the means by the end goal that we think we're defending the good and righteous. Everyone throughout history does that. Everyone throughout history has done that. I'm right, so I will defend till the end and try to conquer the other person who's wrong. This is saying, the mirror is asking us to look at that within ourselves. Are you doing that right now in response to your anger to the people who are doing that? I'm not making fun. I'm laughing because this is the absurdity of the human condition, right? It really is. It's so painful to be human, so we try to alleviate the suffering, but many of our attempts to alleviate the suffering cause more suffering that then needs to be alleviated, and we keep going all about it the wrong way because we keep trying to make blanket resolutions or statements or things that just say, well, this is the one truth, this is the thing, and it's like, no, this is the moon. Hi, nice to meet you. I look different every fucking day. Every day. I'm at least a fraction or a percentage different every single day. The moon. So it's asking us to look at ourselves beyond what we've seen, to do a little investigating. Am I really being a good guy if these are what my actions are? What makes a person a good guy? Is it their beliefs or is it their actions? Is it their intentions or their carry-through? Ask yourself these questions, not with judgment in mind, with curiosity. What more is there under the surface? What lies at the depths of this well? Because in discovering this, you'll not only meet yourself and all of your limitations, but you'll also meet the capacity that you have, which, like, wow, holy bingo, winning moment. Now you get to live your capacity because you had the audacity to actually look deeply at yourself and challenge your own narratives and your own limitations. Like I said at the beginning of this, I've been spiraling inside because I want to do something, but I don't know what to do, and I feel like I can't do anything, and then I'm like, no, I can. I can use my voice. I can use my insight. I can use my channel. I can tune in. I can ground myself. I can take care of myself. That's what I can do. I can remain steady. And I stuttered when I said that. I can remain steady. Not unbothered, not unmoved, not stoic, not numb. I can remain unshakable, but still willing to bend, still willing to flow, still willing to adapt. How do we become unshakable? What is the unshakable thing that we can hold on to? I don't live in the Midwest, but I've seen it in movies like the shelters that have those poles that are dug real deep down into the ground, because when a hurricane comes ripping through, anything less than dug deep down isn't gonna hold. It's gonna get ripped away. And folks, we're in stormy weather. We need something that digs down deep, that we can hold on to, that can shelter us, not protect us from experiencing, but that we can hold on to and retain our integrity while we're in the midst of the storm and not be swept away by it. So please, help me with that. I'm going to end up pulling a card from both of these, but I want to do the unveiled first. And to me, this rod in the storm, okay, already without pulling a card, is the fact that when I zoom out of my human, and there it is on the floor, when I zoom out of my human, and I remember that I am an animation of a fractal, of this consciousness that is one thing, which includes all of the purity and love and creation and life force and expansion and abundance and trust and security and you name it, goodness. And the archons and the reptilians and the corruption and the evil and the bad, terrible, awful, horrible things. All of that is one thing, and I am experiencing being within that as a part of that, and I'm not actually separate. But that's a really hard thing to reach for, like super hard for me personally anyways, right now, when cortisol is flooding my body and adrenaline is flooding my body and my real human amygdala brain is like screaming at me that the place I live is unsafe and my family's not safe, and like, you know what I'm saying? It's really hard to reach for that super lofty, very abstract, but also very true, no less true at all. Just because it's hard to reach for, it just means it's hard to reach for. So please help this. Oh, that's cool. 6 of Wands. So now we got a different energy on the board here. We're not in the mental. We're not in the deep in the emotional realm. We're in the 6 of Wands energy. This is success. This is triumph. This is moving forward. And in reverse, it points to the 5 of Wands, which is competition. A little bit of chaos. But a little bit of competition is good, because how can anyone ever be a winner if there is no competition? How can you ever show how great you are at something if you're never pushed to achieve great heights? And this doesn't have to mean that there's winners and losers. It can be just like, hey, let's all see how great we can get at needle stitching. Let's see how great our gardens can be. Let's see how diverse we can. Who cares what it is? It doesn't always have to be competition and winning over another. So this is talking about The anchor in the storm being, we are re-envisioning what success means. We're re-envisioning why we're battling, what the fight is, what it should look like. And for as silly and stupid as it kind of almost is, but it's not at all, that a beauty queen is in the middle of this, is that Libran energy that says, like, yes, war or fighting or battling or duking it out is sometimes necessary to win, okay? Because when you're a predator and you need to eat, you need to kill your prey to eat it. You need to take it down. It can't be a wishy-washy thing where it's like, well, good job, sport. No, that's a win-lose situation, right? And there, you don't have to be ashamed of that. You're a predator. You need to eat your prey. However, we're humans, and we function on higher levels, or at least we're capable of it. And so winning doesn't have to be the same thing that it has always meant, where there's losers and spoils of war and all of this tragedy and all of this downfall, because it doesn't have to be about conquering. It could be about championing harmony. This isn't beauty, this isn't vanity, this is harmony. Because of that cliche that, beauty queens are like all about world peace. I want for world peace. World peace is a fallacy that's never going to happen. I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you if I am, but that is not a Debbie Downer statement. What is possible is world harmonization. Wait, harmonization is an inaction word. It's a being word. It's not a one and done word. Peace is like a stagnance, okay? Peace means the river is still, the wind is not whipping, the earth is not quaking, the fire is not ripping through everything. Peace means a relative stillness. Peace is the Four of Swords. Harmony is possible. Harmonization is possible. World stagnant peace that stays and remains forever is not. There's too many egos, there's too many humans, there's too many fluctuating things happening, and that's not a wrong or a bad thing. That's just what happens because we're experimenting here in humanity on this world. But working towards a whole harmonization means that people are capable of asking for help, and help is given when it's needed. So many different factors to that. So what does this look like is the follow-up I want to ask. And I haven't used this deck yet once, and the Infinite Door is totally appropriate for this. So what does the reharmonization look like? What does the thriving look like? What would it be like if there were harmony, if there was harmony, amongst us, amongst ourselves, amongst countries, amongst nations, amongst people? What if we could harmonize? What does that look like? I can't make this stuff up. Oh my God, I hadn't even seen that one. Stop, what is it? I can't even stand it. All right, so we have the Wheel of Fortune, was amazing. This is the one that I had saw that I was like, are you kidding me? I can't even stand it. This is the Justice card, but it's in reverse. I will come back to that for sure. And then this is the what? Three of Pentacles in reverse. Ooh, okay. Folks, this is one of those things where you just got to have a little bit of faith. And that sucks and it's hard. But you got to have faith and you got to practice. You got to have faith and you got to do it by yourself. But just a little bit, just to practice. You got to give yourself community. You got to give yourself support. And you got to give yourself structure. And here's how. And I'm going to go backwards. Three of Pentacles. Look at him in this red suit. This is the peaceful mind back here. This is the, I'm shadowing everything. This is the peaceful mind. This is the harmony. This is the, like, yes, we're in world peace. Because here I am in my action chair, my four-legged chair, right? Or is that a three-legged stool? That's a three-legged stool. And my Three of Pentacles, which is about the foundation, the building blocks, the placing the initial structure so that you can build. But you've got to have the end in mind. The end in mind is this peace. This is like saying sincerely, sit down in a chair, eyes open or closed, doesn't matter. Pick a word like peace, harmony, calm, fairness, justice, fortune, things like that. But do it one at a time and let your body tell you what it feels like, what it sees, what it resists, what it can or cannot accept. And this whole ultimate goal is working towards creating the vision of you that's capable of holding peace in your body, that's holding harmony in your body, that can sit there and remain planted in your body while your emotions are being processed instead of checking out. I needed this card today. Awesome. And then injustice, and this being reversed, this is reevaluating what our sense of justice is. Sometimes we think that we want to see justice served the way that we want to see it because that's the only thing that would be just. But I'll tell you, more people are suffering than you know. And I know for sure, the farther we are away from Gnosis, of knowing that I'm not separate, that you're not separate, that I'm not better, that you're not better, that I'm not right, that you're not right, that I'm not wrong, that you're not wrong, that all of this just is what it is, and our judgments and expectations don't always serve us, but sometimes they do. This is a rebalancing of perspective. This is asking for like a reaccounting of what justice actually is, because I'm going to just say it like this. If you're living a human life and you've, air quotes, sold your soul to the devil, or you've given up your integrity, you no longer fight for the underdog, you don't care if you're abusing someone who can't even stand up for themselves, you're suffering. Justice is already being served, and no one will convince me otherwise. I watched my dad kill himself with alcohol because he was a law enforcement officer and he didn't believe in what he was doing. He didn't believe in the life that he was living, in the way that he was acting. He was failing his own integrity, and it killed him. I've watched that justice and karma be served. So don't be so assured of the justice that you think you need to see. Please believe that separation from love is a huge justice that's being doled out. We don't need to make it happen. And the Wheel of Fortune, all in divine timing. All things in divine timing. In every time period of our entire recorded history in humanity, we've had conquering after conquering after conquering of the power changing hands, of the wheel turning in some other idol, some other figure, some other way, religion, blah, 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 dogma, rhetoric, regime taking over. But this Wheel of Fortune coming out in this context with these cards is saying this is unprecedented. We've never had so many people actually focused on building, supporting, grounding, nurturing, expanding themselves and their consciousness. We've never had so many people who are doing the work of reevaluating what they see as justice and how we can reharmonize in the world. So what this reharmonization of the world looks like to me is that the world is turning, and our divine anger, well placed, is going to help true justice be served. But that doesn't come with like striking down the guilty and doing the bad stuff and making sure that bad people have bad stuff happen to them. You can do that if you want, but it's a waste of energy, and you're just creating more hatred and anger and more injustice and more revenge and retribution and blah, blah, blah. Where it's best placed, our energy and our intention to reharmonize, to build something new, is literally in building something new. And I mean, this is building something new in the habits that you do for yourself, in the way that you build yourself up. I'm capable of figuring out what my anger is trying to focus me into. What is the thing that makes you feel so enraged? How would those people that are being affected, or that whatever, like what's the antithesis? You know, what is the opposite of what's happening? What would the support be? And if you can't go and just start being that support, how can you start to mobilize to do that? What places around you can you outreach? Start brainstorming, you know? Sit with your passion. Sit there and think. Spend the time. You're conceptualizing this as golden. It's your focus. It's your conscious attention. Your embodied giving a shit that makes the world turn the way we want it. I'm going to ask for one more card to like solidify. Is there a next step, for me, for the collective of souls that will connect with this reading? Like, is there a next step? Is there one thing that will inspire? And I had to show you the bottom of the deck. This is the Devil in reverse. This is the Chariot. Guys, I'm going to cry. I'm seriously going to cry. This is amazing. The Magician beneath that. I can't make this up. I didn't shuffle these cards to do this. I promise you I did not. Regardless, this says everything to me. This is saying Devil in reverse, okay? First gut instinct is like, see the devil in yourself. See your shadow as something that you want to integrate. Don't leave it to fend for itself down in some basement, locked away in your fears, making it your deepest, darkest dreams, that now it's this enemy that you have to defeat. Integrate the shadow. Stop pointing fingers at everybody. Everyone is guilty and innocent all in one breath, okay? But that doesn't mean we give up. That doesn't mean we stop trying to make that distinction between like we want more of this and we want less of this. But it does mean don't become the devil in the process of trying to eradicate the devil. It does mean don't become the bad guy trying to get rid of the bad guy, right? It doesn't make sense to do that, so don't do that. That means don't do what they do. Don't incite more anger. Don't incite more violence. Don't incite more abuse. Don't use broad, sweeping generalizations to characterize whole groups of people and dehumanize them. Stop dehumanizing people. Hilariously, I've got the curious creatures here where so many of them are animals because we are all animals and we're all humans. So stop pointing out the flaws of everyone else. Look at them in yourself, and the more integration work we do, the less there is out there. This Chariot card is showing up talking about how we move forward without throwing this guy out of the chariot, okay? How do we move forward as it is right now with what we've got to deal with? We've got to manage this beast outside of us. We've got to manage this beast inside of us. How do we take the anger and move forward? How do we take the next step? What is it? To me, quite frankly, this means expressing your feelings. This means expressing your feelings and not judging yourself for any of the things you're feeling. This is like a writing practice. This is clearing the air. The Chariot links to Cancer, the moon. And this is talking about needing to honor our emotions and our feelings, bringing anger into the fold, bringing anger into the fold to be able to move forward. Because if we don't have our anger on board with us, we're going to get swallowed. We're going to get thrown into the pits of the Roman Colosseum and pitted against each other to fight for people's entertainment. Whether that's an outlandish over-exaggeration or not, metaphysically, metaphorically, that's what's coming for us if we don't wake up and start reigning and ruling ourselves. Anger is teaching us right now. It's guiding us. Both of these tigers are angry. Not one of them's happy. Both of them are angry. We can let that anger pull us into more problems, into looping over and over again in the same tire ruts that we've been dealing with since the freaking Roman conquering emperors and all of the horse shit. Or we can let it take us in a different direction. We can let it take us towards harmonization and peace instead, with a focus and an emphasis and a plan for what's the better bet, what's the better option. Not just rallying and trying to prove why this is awful. We know that already. It's looking at what comes next, looking at what's the future, what's ahead. Emotionally, what do we want to be experiencing? Who do we want pulling our strings? Who do we want controlling the reins? And again, here's the Magician on the bottom of the deck. The Magician upside down. Are you burning yourself with your own spells? Are you burning yourself saying, I can't, I'm powerless, I don't know what to do? Or are you letting the rage fuel you? I needed to move all that energy through me. I hope that helped anyone else. If you want some more insight on any of this, if you want some more clarity, if you want to tell me to go F myself, if you have any feedback you want to give in the comments, I welcome it. At this point, I'm allowing my rage and my anger and my fuel to burn through whatever resistance I personally still have had stuck lodged in my throat, not allowing me to speak, keeping me bottled up in fear. But at this point, where I started the spread, because I don't want to end on the devil, the Chariot's a good note, but humanity is still worth fighting for. There's so much untapped potential that we have. And I know personally that I signed up for a journey of self-mastery where I came here to do some really, really hard things. And this is one of those really, really hard things. But cultivating anger as a tool is going to serve us moving forward in this world where we want to see justice served. Recognizing our anger and learning how to let it help us formulate the new way will help us carry out and turn the wheel, overthrow the devil, and move forward. I wish you all so much peace, so much harmony, and such a deep embrace of your own righteous, sacred anger, intentionally directed at the place where it will do the most good in the world. I love you. Take care.